Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms in 4 different areas across the U.S. today. We have 4 areas with all storm hazards on deck. Now, I will give you a little hint to what we're going to talk about today. We don't have all storm hazards in every single area, okay? So we've got hail in the northern plains, we've got high wind in the Missouri Valley, and we've got a tornado threat off the East Coast today. That is your main headlines here on land, especially that tornado threat that we'll be talking about for storms overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. But I think one of the biggest things that we're watching for today is hurricane season seems like it is finally making a return. Now, the last named storm that we had was back on August 28th. It is currently September 15th. We are spending about 20 days without a named storm in the Atlantic during the busiest part of the Atlantic season. This is practically unheard of at this point. So we are going to take a look at the Atlantic and we're going to talk about that next named potential storm over the next few days. And we'll be talking about it here in just a few minutes. But I want to first get to what we saw today and yesterday. So today we've obviously got a low pressure system that's hanging out in the northern portion of the U.S. There's another low pressure system just off the east coast of North Carolina right now that's bringing that flood potential to North Carolina, portions of Virginia, and that tornado potential as well. We're going to see more showers and storms across the Missouri Valley today, and that's going to have a wind threat with it. But of course, that low pressure system farther up to the north will bring that hail threat later on today. It's warmer out there. Did you enjoy the warm weather this weekend? You're going to see warm weather for the next few days, but finally a cold front will come through at the end of this work week, and that's going to bring obviously some cooler temperatures, and that'll officially bring us into fall. I think that we'll see cooler temperatures all the way through the rest of, well, it depends on where you live, but through a good portion of September. Alrighty, let's move on to what we saw yesterday. Did you guys see all those tornadoes yesterday? From South to North Dakota, let's go up to this area. We had many tornado updates yesterday. These reports just kept on going all the way through the southern portion of North Dakota into Bismarck and almost splitting the state in half yesterday. A very impressive tornado outbreak. Unseasonable. We don't normally see this time of the year. So that was very interesting, especially in the northern portion of the plains. Today, again, that hail risk is mainly up in northern Minnesota, but we could also see some hail in Wyoming as well. So we've got 2 areas that we're pinpointing for that hail risk today. There's your risk in Wyoming, and there's your risk in northern Minnesota, and then that'll stretch into Canada as well. Not Kansas. Nope, we're going up into Canada. Moving very quickly through these hazards today, the maximum hail size that you're going to see today is up to ping pong ball size hail. I think it's going to be pretty difficult to even get up to ping pong ball size hail today. We will most likely see hail sizes much smaller than that, but we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes, and then we'll get into your hurricane forecast. Here are your areas for storms today. 1, 2, 3, 4 areas for storms today, all with their own individual hazards. Let's zoom down into those hail risks first. We're going to talk about northern Minnesota, and then we're going to talk about Wyoming as well. Those are your 2 hail risks for today. One area starting right now into the overnight hours for wind, but later on this afternoon will be the hail risk. So we've got both a hail and a wind risk in Wyoming to South Dakota. And then between about 3 to 6 o'clock this evening, it's a low severe weather risk for some smaller hailstones in northern Minnesota and then up into Canada. Going to fast forward a little bit here. I'm going to go into your hail risk first. We're going to go into wind and tornado after that. And then we'll get into that Atlantic storm risk, or the Atlantic tropical cyclone risk. Lander to Thermopolis, it's a low chance for hail today. We're keeping these hail sizes small for the most part, but if I do see any of those stronger storms that could produce ping pong ball size hail, that'll be right in the central portion of Wyoming. Moving on to northern Minnesota here, Fort Francis, we've got still a low risk for hail in this area. We've got a high wind risk, or a low risk for high wind, there you go, across the central portion of Wyoming and South Dakota as well. This area down in Missouri from Jefferson City all the way to Springfield and into Memphis, you're going to see some pop-up showers and storms today, almost summer-like in this area. You know, those popcorn showers and storms, that's what you're going to see today. And a few of those could produce strong winds. Moving off to the tornado risk now, we've got a tornado risk off on the East Coast, again because of this low pressure system that's hanging just off the coast in the Atlantic right now. Now this is producing a tornado risk where a brief tornado or two is absolutely possible anywhere from Virginia Beach to Hatteras Island down in North Carolina. So there's your areas for storms today. We talked about that area of high wind in this area right here. Again, popcorn showers and storms from Missouri to Arkansas. Seemingly random, but it's that very, very summer-like feel where you could get a pop-up shower for your neighbor, but maybe you didn't get it on your way home from work. You know, it's going to be, not everyone gets rain today. Now, I can tell you where everyone's going to get rain. That'll be from Virginia to North Carolina. Just on the East Coast here, we do have a flooding risk in this area. It's a level 2 risk for scattered showers and storms, especially through the overnight hours tonight and into tomorrow morning. So Tuesday morning, that's going to be the best chance to see that brief tornado. Not necessarily today, but early tomorrow morning. Now taking a look at that flood outlook, it's a level 2 outlook, or it's a level 2 risk for scattered flooding concerns today and early tomorrow. Other than that, I'm not too worried about our flood outlook for today. Even our storm outlook tomorrow, not terribly impressed with. It's quiet here on land, but I want to go out to the Pacific and the Atlantic because that's where we see a lot of the activity over the next few days. We're starting to see things really ramp up in these areas. We told you about Mario last week, a tropical storm right now just off the coast of Mexico. This is still going to move up to the north and west, but we've got another area that's coming just behind Mario. Now this area, so what's happening here, and this is pretty common, what's happening is this storm is kind of carving out a path, almost like a conveyor belt for the storm behind it. So then you look at the storm behind it, it's going to take a very similar path. And we've seen this before. We've seen this in the Atlantic. This will happen in the Pacific as well. We've got I think a 90% chance for tropical cyclone formation in the Pacific. Now let's go to the Atlantic. What a lot of people have their eye on is Invest 92L. And we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about the potential for tropical cyclone formation in this area. Once we finally get that next named storm, it'll be Gabrielle. But right now we have Invest 92L. Not a very cute name, but basically what an invest means is that the National Hurricane Center is interested in this area of low pressure that's attempting to organize itself into our next named storm. What they do after they assign this as an invest, they send hurricane hunters out to this area to gather data and to gather important information about this storm so that whenever it does strengthen, we have all kinds of information about how fast it's moving, what the pressure is. That's all of this data that you see here in this black box at the bottom of the screen. What they've also determined is that over the next 2 days, we may see some development with this storm, but what we're really watching for is at the end of this work week, if it can get out of all of the Saharan dust that's keeping it very matted or muted right now, as it moves off to the west a little bit closer or farther into the Atlantic, that's whenever we're going to see more development. So not over the next 48 hours, but over the next 7 days, I would actually say probably more like 5 days. That's whenever we're expecting our next named storm. So we'll spend the entire week talking about this system right here. One thing that I wanted to show you was our other tropical products that we can see or that we can use to determine how fast this thing is going to strengthen. Actually, it's in a good spot right now. If you want to see a next named storm, these areas highlighted here in red and purple, this is low shear. That's good for storm development. So people get this confused quite often. With tornadoes, you want high shear. With hurricanes, you want low shear. So that low shear defined by those red and purple colors right there. With it over this low pressure system, that's really, really good for development in this area, right? We've got some reds, we've got some purples, some really low shear, which is going to help these storms to develop. Now, one thing that's going to hurt storm development is all of that Saharan dust that's coming off the coast of Africa. It's still pretty thick in this area, so if the storm can get out of that Saharan dust, it's going to have a better chance for development. And another thing that I found very interesting here was that our sea surface temperatures, so the temperature of the ocean at the top, they're not as warm as they were last year. They are not as warm as they were last year. We had warmer sea surface temperatures last year than we do this year. 85 is what we see from some of these buoys out in the Atlantic right now. I think we were at least in the 90s last year, if not even warmer than that. Very, very impressive. Now, I do want to show you something that we talked about last week. I think it was last Monday or Tuesday. We said that by September 15th, so we've got, today, there will most likely be no hurricanes until after September 15th. So we nailed that. Now, after September 15th, we said it would get a lot more active. And our meteorologists, they were taking bets. When was the next named storm going to be? The 19th, the 20th, someone said the 22nd as well. So we've got all of those forecasts from them. We'll see who's right, because we are likely to have our next named storm over the next few days. And we said, get ready. Because as we head into the end of September and early October, we were going to have a much more active Atlantic season than what we saw at the very beginning. I mean, any named storm will be more active than what we saw at the beginning. We didn't see any named storms for the very beginning of September. We haven't seen any named storms over the last 20 days. What happened last year, it wasn't too dissimilar to what happened last year. You know, last year we had a lull in August and September, and then finally by the middle of September, it was like storm after storm after storm after storm. We had many storms in a row, and it looks like we have the potential to do that again this year. I don't know if we're going to see as many storms this year as we did last year. Last year, we saw 18 named storms, just a little bit above average. This year, we were expecting about 12 to 17 named storms, 6 to 10 of those to be hurricanes, and 2 to 3 of those to be major hurricanes. So that was the HailTrace forecast for this year. Just a little bit less than what we saw last year, and a little bit more than what is normal, what we would consider average. And just a reminder of where we are during the hurricane season. We are right in the middle right now, just past peak hurricane season. Usually we see less hurricanes or less tropical storms as we head into September and October. But I think that this will be where 2025 season really shines. I think that this is going to be where we start to get more named storms, at least this year. But that's a look at what we see on an average year. Again, our next named storm will be Gabrielle. Umberto after that, Imelda after that, Jerry, Karen, and I think that the HailTrace forecast goes all the way to Lorenzo. So we'll see if we get that far. Obviously, only time will tell as we get later into September and early October. But bringing you back on land, out of the Atlantic and back to the U.S. now, let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening for the rest of September. It's hot right now, but we are expecting some cooler temperatures to move in as we head into the end of this week. So if you're ready for fall, you know, we just went and got our fall decorations yesterday, maybe pumpkins this next weekend. It's going to feel much more like fall as we head into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for a good portion of the U.S. We get the 60s and 70s back in Denver by Wednesday, cooler temperatures in KC by Thursday, and then most of us feeling that cooler air by Friday and Saturday. Alrighty, moving on to the end of September. Now, while we may have a brief break from all of this warm weather, it looks like the end of September does stay on the warmer side. So we're not talking, I know that you see these reds on the board here, but we're not talking about, let's go back. There you go. So there's all of those reds on the board here. We're not talking about 95, 100 degrees. No, that is not what we're talking about at all. What we're talking about is the chance for temperatures to be above average. So if your average for this time of the year is 82, you have a really good chance to be at 88. So just a little bit above average, 5, 10 degrees maybe But again, still feeling some of the peaks of fall-like weather, especially because we are fully into September at this point. It looks like we have a really good chance for this active or wet weather to continue through the end of the month as well, which is great news. Hopefully that mitigates some of the fire season or fire potential as we get into some of those drier months. Thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. We talked about 4 areas for severe weather across the U.S. and then we talked about the Pacific and Atlantic activity that we're expecting over the next few days. As always, if you missed any portion of that forecast, once this ends, you can go back and re-watch it. You can pause it, slow it down, so you can see all of the graphics that we showed you today. But in the meantime, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and give us a call if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map. So we did map all of those tornado reports yesterday in North Dakota. We have all of those mapped for you at HailTrace.com, so head over there to get that map, or give us a call for a subscription at 855-334-4245, or head over to or email us. If you don't want to call us, you can email us at info@HailTrace.com. All right, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here for your forecast and your tropical update. Same time, same place tomorrow.